Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sir, let me welcome you for this business leader engagement session today. First of all, I would like to thank you for your precious time. The agenda of this session has been already been shared with Miss Myra. I hope you have gone through it well. I will define it. I will give a brief little about this agenda today, and then we have Miss Syra in our team who will give the introduction of all the team members who have joined from the UMT side. And then obviously we'll leave the house open for you to give us your intro, tell us about your company, and then we'll take the talk forward. So the agenda of this business leader engagement is to hear from the industry perspective. Obviously, we'll be talking about the academy industry collaboration, how industry can play their part, and the skill sets required for the post-COVID scenario as suggested by the industry professionals. And obviously at the end you will be advising or guiding our students regarding the career growth suggestion from the industry perspective. uh, I will request Ms. Saira to formally start this session by giving a brief intro of our team to Rizwan sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum Rizwan sahab, this is Khalid Naki. Introduction वगैरह भी बस शुरू होने लगे. I just had some electrical failure at my place, so pardon for that, but I'm good online, inshallah. We like to hear from you, your thoughts and very candid comments on, how to really create a impact through academia industry. So let the team start the session.
Please.
Peace and blessings, everyone. This is me, Saira Iqbal Khan, Chief Disruption Officer at Innovation Capital Development Forum, ICDF, which is UMT think tank and run and managed by Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements. And I welcome you all to another thoughtful episode of this business leader engagement, which Moeed already explained that this is basically an industry academia linkage platform created by OCLP, by seasoned professionals and key decision makers, including, the C-suite level, professionals and executives are invited to, share their thoughts and insights that, how we can basically reduce this talent deficit in terms of skills in demand and skills in supply, and, resulting in creation of enlightened and career-ready graduates. And the purpose of this platform is basically, to help and to create a deeper understanding of each other's expectations, because we believe that industry and academia, they are two main parts of the one body. And the way it is essential for us to understand industry's expectations, it is equally important and crucial in today's world for industry, to understand the expectations of the Gen Zers and millennials who will be graduating from the universities and joining the workforce, as passionate productivity partners. Because it's equally important for an industry to keep them intact, inspired, and engaged at the workplace. We will also be talking about the future of careers, and what are, as Moeed explained, that what are the emerging skill set required in today's highly volatile, complex, ambiguous, and uncertain world. So moving forward, I would like to briefly introduce the team members from UMT side. We have Khalid Naki. Mr. Khalid Naki is a corporate Olympics champion and an enterprise management professional, having over 30 years plus diversified international experience in multiple industries in various asset classes in different continents of the world. He's an entrepreneurial executive, having sound exposure in managing and structuring projects and companies, and also stirring investors' interest through prudent and proactive management practices. And because of his recent, dive into academia and his passion for transforming Pakistan from factor-driven to innovation-driven idea economy, he's running a think tank at UMT called ICDF as Chief Transformation Officer, whereby he is challenging convention to create enlightened and passionate, champions of innovation through this initiative of national interest. He's also managing 4 different divisions at UMT as director, including Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements. Then moving forward, we have Mr. Abdul Mueed Malik. Mueed is basically lead special assignments at Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements. He's responsible for signing off the MOUs, and he also look into corporate affiliations and collaborations, seeking possibilities of collaboration between both of the stakeholders. Then we have Ms. Maria Sarfaraz. She is our brand manager at Office of Corporate Linkages and Placements. And, she promotes, different initiatives for marketing of UMT graduates in the industry. Then we have Ms. Farah Farooq. She is our digital leader at OCLP. And she is responsible for a career portal administration, and she also, advises students in terms of building their effective LinkedIn profiles. Then it's Sanan Ahmed. He is lead product development at UMT and at OCLP, whereby he promotes placement of specific schools and with specific focus in the industry. Then it's me, as I told you earlier, I'm Chief Disruption Officer at ICDF, whereby I'm responsible for CEO and corporate engagement, panel discussions, talent deficit reduction program management, and I ran on integrating industry and academia as 2 main parts of one body. So before we dive into an informal introspective chit-chat discussion with you, I would like to give a brief introduction about the company for whom you're representing as Chief Executive Officer. So Softwood is basically a growing sourcing company which offers ultimate solutions, from textile of Pakistan, and you guys deal in knitted and homemade textile products. They are based in Lahore with offices in China, Brazil, Germany, and what to call innovation and basically perfection are the 2 main components of your organization. And the strength of Softwood is basically product development, coordination, and communications. And I would like to give a brief introduction about Mr. Rizwan Zubair. So basically, he's CEO of Softwood. He has also served as Director of Marketing at Nishat Shunia. He has also been teaching at UMT and also LUMS. And he has done BSc from National Textile University. He also holds a degree in MBA from LUMS. So, sir, welcome you on board. And I would like to hand over the forum to Mr. Abdul Mueed Malik.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saira, for the great introduction. And I hope it gives a clear about our brief introduction to Mr. Rizwan. Mr. Rizwan, before we move forward, I would request you to please, as Ms. Saira has already given about your introduction to everyone, but I would request you to kindly brief us about Softwoods and give your little background, talk about your profile for some time, and then we'll move forward to the rest of the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just to give a brief profile about myself is I had graduated from National Textile College, which is now called National Textile University, in 1996. And academically, I was generally, I would say, a good student. And I had a position in Faisalabad board in pre-engineering FSC. When I was studying at NTU, apart from my normal studies, I also did a bachelor in mathematics, and I did an ICM inter, and I was doing computer programming. So just to give a brief, and then immediately afterwards, I went to Lahore University of Management Sciences. I had an MBA from there in 1998. And then when I joined Nishat, then again I was pursuing education, and I did my CFA in 2003, I guess. The reason I'm explaining about that is because that academic perspective was throughout with me when I started working in Nishat and when I started my own business also, and that reflects in the vision of the company also. and our company is focused that we have to increase our skills every day. There's a continuous improvement that is needed, and we believe sincerely that if we are able to implement best management practices in our organization, and if we can help organizations that come in touch with us to also improve themselves, that should reflect into better, more productive uh, organizations in Pakistan, which should reflect into cost competitiveness, which must mean that we will be able to get more business from outside. And if we can get more business, if our companies can sell more at a competitive price, they can employ more people, that can eventually be a service to humanity, to our country in general. I have a very strong feeling that people in our country are not as efficient and productive as they should be. If you will look at very productive people, so for example, there are people in Japan, there are people in South Korea who work very hard, and whatever amount of time they work, they are very productive. That has changed their nations. In After Second World War, Japan was ruined, and they, as a nation, decided not to fight but to work harder and work better, and they were able to work better. And just in a few decades, they became the second largest economic power in the world. And even today, they are a big economic power, and their general public has a much better standard of living compared to most of the countries, and especially compared to Pakistan. So as a company, this is what I believe in, and that is the reason that our interaction with academia is relatively more compared to normal Pakistani, especially Pakistani local companies. Our people are continuously doing the courses with universities. We also arrange, for instance, we are there are a few people in our company which are learning French, and before COVID, we had arranged a respectable teacher who was coming twice a week, and he was teaching French to people. And there are many other examples like that. So when I was working at Nishat, our Nishat Junior is a great organization. I learned, I would say, most of what I learned in my life is from LUMS and from Nishat. And there I realized that we were doing a great job, and there were many people who were copying us because Nishat was a leader. So after when I started my own business, I had this very clear in my mind that we should be focused on that. As of today, God has been very kind to us, and we have been very lucky. We have a decent business as far as buying house is concerned. Plus, we have a production unit also with the same name as Softwood, where some 400, 500 people are working, and we produced denim garments in that production unit. So situation is good, not as good as we would have wanted to, or as the company has potential, but focus is definitely on a continuous improvement.
Great. Thank you very much. Good to hear your thoughts. Rizwan sab, tell us how COVID affected your company and the way you outcome the challenges, and what productive measures did you take which is actually benefiting you at the moment, and what is the long term plan for the software post COVID scenario.
I think as far as COVID is concerned, again, we had been very lucky compared to most of the textile companies in this country. We had been very lucky as a buying house that our customers behaved honorably. They did not cancel shipments. They did not ask for discounts. In our production unit, also our customer, there's a different set of customers in the production unit, and they asked for very little discount. And luckily, we were not having a lot of funds stuck with them because they are seasonal customers. So we were in low season. So God has been very kind to us. As a company, we do not work with banks. And since we do not work with banks, so as far as our production unit is concerned, our production is limited, and we only do what we can do in our own resources, which is in a normal situation a kind of an impediment, because we cannot do bulk business, or we cannot pull the capacity at times. But in COVID situation, it was great, because since we do not have any bank liabilities, there was no interest cost that we had to pay. So as an organization, we were much more secure compared to other organizations. However, obviously, it's kind of a wake-up call to become more cost-effective and more productive, because we had been very lucky. We did not fire a single person during COVID. All our workforce is intact. Even the people who work on a P state, we kept on paying them also as per the law. So, which was not the case in a lot of companies. So, one, we were very lucky. God has been very kind to us, but we do realize that we need to be more cost efficient, because any such similar situation can occur in future also. So it has kind of re-emphasized our vision of the company, where we need to become more and more productive, more and more competent to face it. It's at the end of the day, it all boils down to the same fact. If we are hardworking, if we are capable, if we are better able to manage our time, if we can achieve more work in a given amount of time, yes, the probability for us to survive any challenge is much higher compared to any other company.
Rizwan sir,
So,
I would like to come in here because you're on dot and थोड़ी सी clarity के लिए, because eventually these talks will be shared with the students और उनको बड़ा clarity से समझ में आना चाहिए हर एक बात को. मैं थोड़ा सा आपको back to basic approach आपकी जो थी, जिस पे आपने
I can quickly read, comprehend, understand. Now, this is basically an academic capability to be able to read faster, to be able to type faster, to know the skills of Microsoft Office, especially Microsoft Excel. We use online software, different types of software. And for instance, all our system is linked through dashboard. If there is a person in my organization who is making marketing calls, I go to my dashboard and I know that this guy made this many calls per day in the last 1 week. These were the results of that department. This was the quality result, or this is the total business. Everything is on the dashboard. People, our quality auditors, when they go to a factory to audit the product, they have handhelds, tabs with them. They will do the audit and feed it on that. The information will automatically be transferred, will be available even for our customers to have a look on that. And for all these systems, we did not spend a penny. All of this is free. Mainly these are Google based. So we are using Google Sites, we are using Google Sheets, and we are using Google very uh, which was advanced functionalities in Microsoft Excel and Google. These are all the things that I learned in my academics. I was since I was doing marketing, but I learned CFA, which is finance and economics. And every day, when you grow up the ladder in an organization, then your specialization is actually less and less useful, and more useful is your overall management capability, which include human resource management, the interpersonal skills, and which also includes the understanding of financial economic decision making. If you are in a production facility and you have to buy a new machine, you need to have a financial analysis if it is better to buy the machine for our company or not. So that learning that I had in engineering, in mathematics, in finance, economics, and along with an overall MBA, that was a business degree. So over there, obviously, it was economics also, HR also, communication also. So all these things definitely directly helps you in your work when you're working. Plus, these help you indirectly also.
So great. So with this means that upskilling and reskilling is always good if you want to grow up the ladder, or inshallah जब कोई business अपना करने का मौका मिल जाए तो तमाम चीजें becomes your enabler to take well informed and very conscious and calculated decisions while mitigating the risks and doing the options analysis. So mashallah, it's a great point you have added. और ये I think हमें students को बिल्कुल बचाना चाहिए उनको. अच्छा सर, ये बताएं कि आपका क्लाइंट आपसे क्या डिमांड करता है और उस डिमांड को आप अपने स्टाफ पे कैसे ट्रांसलेट करते हैं, एंड हाउ यू एंश्योर दैट द स्टाफ इज डिलीवरिंग व्हाट योर क्लाइंट वांट्स.
देखिए जी, हमारे क्लाइंट्स दो तरह के हैं. एक तो वो जो एक्टिव क्लाइंट्स हैं, फ्रॉम देयर वी आर गेटिंग रेगुलर बिजनेस. Their demand is obviously to get a decent collection development for them every season, if I talk about government supply and from a buying house perspective. And their demand is to get a very low price, and their demand is to get a very good product, actual production, when it goes into production, with the quality parameters that they desire and on-time deliveries. And the customers are very demanding. Every season they want lower prices. Every season they are more focused on getting quicker deliveries and increasing the quality perspectives, increasing more testing related to chemicals. And we have to translate it to people. We try to translate it to people from this Islamic approach. We believe that if you have to produce a garment on time in a supplier factory, not in your own factory especially, then you need to have a very strong communication system. Our people should be able to understand what the customer is saying and translating it to the supplier, giving the exact information. Our people should be very good in overall mathematical skills, because there's so many orders which are being produced in different factories for one customer, and all the information is being gathered, and then you have to scan the information, and you need to have some checks that enable you to figure out that out of these 45 orders, these 4 orders are expected to have a problem, and how to point out those 4 orders, and then which items are there. And maybe, for example, a trim has been delayed for some reason because of flight issues or because of wrong sample submission or whatever. Then you have to preempt those problems, and then you have to find a solution for that. That needs analytical capability, that needs decision making skill, that needs your interpersonal skills to convince the supplier that they need to act now, instead of waiting for 10 more days or 20 more days, when it will become impossible to save the shipment from airing, for example, or a penalty from the customer. So we focus on that. And as it is the vision of the company also, so we continuously keep on training our people. Every week there is some training going on. We actually, it's not a good word to use, we actually force our people to read business books, for example. We conduct courses, like there is a very good book called Practical Management Science, which teaches you mathematical modeling based on Excel, and it has various practical situation. It gives questions that you have to think out solutions for them. So we teach that book to our select number of people also, so that their overall capability is increased. They are better used to, especially using computer, because nowadays we are mainly in a buying house. We are mainly knowledge workers. We are not physically producing a product. We are not physically creating any art or painting or something. We are knowledge workers who have to process information and add our expertise to get a result out of that, and figure out, okay, this is the problem area that we need to address now. And knowledge worker must have very good computer skills, because all the information is coming on computers. You need to read it fast, you need to type it fast, and you need to analyze it using the common available mathematical tools. We have specialized software also in our factory. We have an ERP system also. But in our day-to-day work, we use a lot of Microsoft Sheets, which are linked together. We have combined calendars. We have shared documents where people, for example, if we have to send an information to a customer, we will share it with five people, and they will together edit a document, and then a document will be ready to send to the
This is
customer.
an excellent point you have added. Actually, you've given a new perspective. Sorry, Mohit, वो रिजवान साहब की बातें ऐसी थी कि I had to jump in, because
चलिए माशाल्लाह, wonderful
हाँ,
thought shared by Rizwan
हाँ.
साहब, really
So I want
inspiring.
to continue with few questions. तो आपका interview मैंने आज disrupt कर दिया because
नहीं, that's
I'm
fine,
very
that's
happy
perfectly
to
fine.
get
That is
introduced to
good.
Rizwan साहब.
With that, Rizwan साहब, I'll continue to our next question, which is very important.
मैं अभी थोड़ा सा इनसे इसमें और बात करना चाहूंगा इसी के
Okay,
फॉलो
sir,
अप
please go on.
अच्छा रिजवान साहब ये आपने बहुत अच्छी बात ऐड की कि आप जो मर्जी डोमेन नॉलेज ले रहे हो यू हैव टू थिंक योरसेल्फ एज अ नॉलेज वर्कर और आपने कहीं में भी जाना है तो एज अ नॉलेज वर्कर जाना है इवन इफ यू आर गोइंग एज अ फैक्ट्री वर्कर आपको जहन में आउटलुक अगर ये हम ग्रूम कर देते हैं कि यू आर अ नॉलेज वर्कर तो हम फिर कोरिया और जापान और बाकी मुल्कों के साथ में खड़े हो सकते हैं एक्सीलेंट पॉइंट एडेड सारा प्लीज टेक नोट ऑफ इट एंड हमने ये बात आगे फिर बच्चों से कैसे कन्वे करनी है रिजवान साहब को फिर तकलीफ देंगे एक बात होता है रिजवान साहब ये जो आपसे डिस्काउंटिंग मांगते हैं प्राइस पॉइंट सेंसिटिविटी वी ऑल अंडरस्टैंड जिसको जहां मौका मिलता है वो डिस्काउंट ही मांगता है तो how devaluation of rupee has helped you in fighting that point out?
देखिए, ये डिवैल्यूएशन ऑफ रुपी जो है ना, ये एक तरह से आप कह लें डबल एज सॉर्ड है। यानी इससे हुआ ये है कि एक्सपोर्ट इंडस्ट्री हैज बेनिफिटेड डेफिनेटली। If we look back this last period of the last government, because for the last two governments, where it was about 10 years, the rupee was not devaluing. It was more or less the same value, and our workers' salary was increasing every year by 10, 15, 20%. So practically what happened in 2018, that our worker salary was $140, and Bangladesh worker salary at that time was $62. This is the minimum wage I'm talking about. And in Bangladesh, they increase salary after every 4 years. So in 2018, they increased the wages from 62 to 93. But before that time, our workers was making double, more than double, a Bengali worker was making. From a social perspective, it is very good because then our worker, a poor man, had a better, I would say, standard of living because he could afford more. He could buy more things from that $140 he was getting every month. But from a commercial perspective or pragmatic perspective, the industry was being destroyed because having $140 as a worker salary for a human resource oriented business. More, it's not capital intensive, but it's labor intensive. The garment business, especially, which is the value added business which the country is looking for as far as the textile industry is concerned. Because yarn and gray fabric, it's more and more internal consumptions. People all over the world are not buying a lot of gray fabric or dyed fabric anymore. Every year, there's more import of made up products, be it garments or be it bed sheets, etc. So now the practical situation is that our worker is making about $100 per month, weekly, monthly. I think now it's less than $100, and Bengali worker is making also $93. So we are almost at parity as a per worker cost is concerned. Uh, just compare it 3 years back when our labor cost was 2.5 times more than them. So practically, yes, it has actually helped a lot, the export industry. And this is a direct impact. Unfortunately, the real impact is based on the human costs because your utilities, your inputs, dyes, chemicals, they simply increase in kind as the dollar is appreciating. But specifically for the human resource now, when the cost is lower, you're more competitive, more business is coming to Pakistan. Despite having COVID, actually Pakistan did not have a negative growth. One of the reasons was because our export industry is doing better. However, it has a negative, definitely social element, because now our workers can afford much less, which is unfortunate. Our solution to that problem is that we are trying, when customer is asking for discounts also, we, instead of focusing that okay, we'll get maybe dollar appreciates further and we will get more rupees for this lower dollar amount, and we'll get the same rupees per garment, we actually try to focus on being more productive. And this is what we are trying to discuss and communicate with our suppliers also. And we openly, frankly discuss with our suppliers that their costs are higher and they need to reduce their costs. And reducing the cost, only solution is that if you become more productive, there is a job which four people are doing in an organization. And for example, in my organization, if one person is doing the same job, then we tell them, please have a look. If my guy can do it, then you should also be able to do it. In the short run, it might mean that they need to work with one person instead of four. So if, for example, they expand, they will not hire more people. So in the short run, there will be relatively less job creation. But if they're able to do it, in the long run, they will get much more business because they will be truly competitive. And we have seen in the past how our different industries, where it was a regular way of working in spinning and weaving, they were losing money and a lot of companies closed. And when company closed down, then a lot of people are jobless. So it is much better to start with a competitive, lesser amount of human resource. And now, if I give you an example, in my quality department, for example, in my company, we produce about 4,000 garments per day. And on the stitching floor, we have 20 quality checkers, people who check the quality. The number is 20. I went to Turkey and I went to a stitching factory where they were producing 2,500 to 3,000 pieces per day. So we are producing 4,000, they were producing about 2.5, 3,000. And till the time they were making 2,500 garments, they had only one person who was checking quality. So if we are doing 4,000 with 20 people, which prorate, if we prorate it to 500, then it will be about 12 people or 13 people, and they were doing it by one person. That is the difference in magnitude. If we produce 2,500 or 3,000 garments, we need a certain workforce, which is few hundred people. In that stitching factory, the total number of people was 55. The total number of workers was 55 and total number of people was 80, which included PN and accounts and owner also. So
very
they
efficient
are
operation.
very much efficient compared to us. Our way of working is very primitive even today. And if we have to compete, then we have to change our base. And this is what we are trying to educate our suppliers also, because we believe they're our partners. And there are different products where we were able to convince our suppliers to look at their costing from another perspective, to look at their overhead from another perspective, and find solutions. And we have been able to find solutions in some cases.
Great. रज़ा ये बताएं कि आपकी कितनी percentage of your raw material is imported and what percentage is local in your own production and your suppliers also, if you can give a ballpark.
If we talk about garment production, then most of the items are local. Dyes and chemicals are imported, but fabric, which is the main product, is produced locally. In the trims, unfortunately, Pakistan is not able to produce good quality metal trims. So buttons are definitely imported. And
zippers तो हांगकांग से आते थे एक ज़माने में. अभी I don't know what's happening.
जी अभी भी most of the zippers come from Hong Kong. Now they have some local production also, but major quantity is coming from Hong Kong.
All right. So great. So my just one last final question, then I'll give it back to Mohit. आप अभी आगे क्या देखते हो industry को? What is the growth potential? Because as we understand, there was a time when America was the biggest consumer of the global production. और वहाँ पे भी अभी थोड़े से इकोनॉमिक हालात हम सबको पता है what is happening there. एंड फिर यूरोप का भी वी नो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग देयर. तो हमारी मार्केट्स तो वही हैं ज्यादा जहाँ से हम वैल्यू एडेड या कुछ डॉलर अर्निंग्स करते हैं. तो आप बिकॉज मैथमेटिकल मॉडलिंग भी करते हो माशाल्लाह, सीएफए भी हो, एंड यू आर लुकिंग एट इट फ्रॉम द एंगल ऑफ फाइनेंस एंड इकोनॉमिक्स एंड आल्सो मैथमेटिक्स. तो व्हाट इज योर पर्सनल असेसमेंट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड कि आगे हमें कोई ग्रोथ मिल सकती है? व्हाट इज द पोटेंशियल? और कोविड के बाद क्या हम बेहतर मार्केट कैप्चर कर पाएंगे? बिकॉज अदर कंट्रीज हमारे साथ कंपेटिटिव हैं, लाइक बांग्लादेश आपने कहा, they will be following the same suit. China probably will not be as much in the game as it used to be because of the खुद consumer हो गया है, from factory of the world to market of the world China हो गया. So what are your thoughts? इस पे जरा मुझे candid comment दीजिएगा.
देखिए, पहली बात ये है कि इस चीज़ के अंदर आई एम एक्चुअली नॉट रियली अ मैथमेटिकल पर्सन. आई एम मोर ऑफ एन ऑप्टिमिस्टिक पर्सन. आई एम ऑलवेज ऑप्टिमिस्टिक, and I believe if something is being produced in world in an efficient manner, we should also be able to do it. We have capable people. We have a big population and a very large pool of workers who are in the age where they can do productive work. So our prospects are in general good. We need to work hard. There's no doubt about that. In any case, even if there was no COVID, the garment industry or any other industry where you are competing worldwide, there is a competition. And when there is a competition, then it is generally very painful. A lot of companies go out of business and they need to change their ways and then improve. So garment industry is also going to face a big problem. At the moment, our garment industry is in general not very efficient. If you recall, it happened in year 2000 when quotas went away. The knitwear industry was almost wiped out because they were not efficient and they were just thriving based on quota. Even for the last few years, our garment industry was actually thriving on the two, three factors. One, our labor was relatively cheaper, like Bangladesh is doing, because their labor is cheaper, so they are the biggest garment producer. But for instance, if you look at China, even today, China is the largest garment producer in the world. They have changed their niche. The product that we do, they do not do. So they make jackets, outerwear, which we are not doing. Logically, if China is producing outerwear and exporting and largest exporter in the world, why are we not doing? Because we don't think about these new avenues, we do not change our ways of working. So in general, I think outlook is better, but there will be painful situations for many companies. There will be companies who will go out of business. There will be new producers which will be more competitive. For example, in today's world, if you look at Interloop, so Interloop just put up a big garment production, and they are very professional and very competitive in general. Once they will reach their target capacity, they have a already available building for I think about 2 million garments per month. Once they reach that, they will be perhaps the most competitive product in the world, in the country. So they will be able to get more business, and the other companies will be losing business, and they'll have to take change their ways.
Actually,
But
and
in
this summarizes the whole thing. कि जैसे आपने बोला ना कि the survival of the fittest, and fittest is the one who is more efficient and more productive. और उसी में वो उसी वक्त होगा जब आप knowledge worker की तरह काम करेंगे rather than the stone age worker and a stone age owner. So I think your thoughts well taken. Great. It was really exciting for me to learn from you. And now, Mohit, back to you and you guys,
जी
whatever questions you have.
जी, थैंक यू
Thank
वेरी
you, Rizwan
मच.
sir. It was great talking to you.
खालिद
Inshallah,
साहब, जैसे आपने कहा,
after COVID also. Yeah.
आपने जैसे कहा माशाल्लाह, थ्रू आउट वेरी इंस्पायरिंग थॉट्स शेयर्ड बाय मिस्टर रिजवान साहब. रिजवान साहब, जैसे कि 2006 से आप बिजनेस में हैं माशाल्लाह. I mean, this
Yeah.
whole agenda is just for the student, to inspire them, to excite them. So I want to, the whole thoughts were very inspiring, mashallah. And to make it more inspiring for our student, I want to ask you what excites you? I mean, what was the reason, what was your inspiration to start the business, as you were in the field and mashallah doing well in the jobs perspective as well, being alums faculty, and then you have actually teached at UMT as well, and you were doing well in the nishat as well. What was the inspiration? I mean, what makes you inspired to do your own business? Please put a light on this.
Excellent question, Mohit. Excellent question. Yeah.
The honest answer is actually I did not want to have my own. I belong to Chirioti Sheikh community where people, most of the people are doing their own business. But I went to Nishat and I was very happy there. It was an amazing organization. They gave me so much authority, respect, opportunity, exposure that it is unmatchable. So I did not want to leave Nishat and start my own business. It was just by chance some situation developed in a manner that I had to leave. And when I left, then I understood one thing, that I will not find a company as good as Nishad and a boss as good as my previous boss. So I thought that now I am forced to do my business. I actually did not have an option to continue the job, so I had to. So I did not have any aspirations to really become an entrepreneur. Because my perspective, even in Nishad, was very clear. I wanted to do something which could help the industry in general, which would reflect into the standard of living of a common man. At a bigger company, I had a bigger platform. So there was more opportunity if I had continued my job to impact more people. And actually, it was happening in Nishad that a lot of people were just copying what we were doing. We made a costing sheet. I used to teach that in textile costing also when I was teaching at UMT, and it is still available online. So we developed a costing sheet. It was practically copied by more than half of the industry, and even today, after so many years, a lot of people use the same sheet because it was more efficient and more accurate costing. We had a planning model where we were planning the looms, and maybe half of the industry or little less than that is using the exact same model. And when I joined weaving industry, if I just can give you an example, we worked with the company. It was a very good company, now not working. It was the Rupali Group has a company called Rupa Fab, and we got an order from them. And that order was some 40,000 meters. And at that time, the way of working was that you started production after getting some advance. That was the norm of the market. And when you complete the production, you will get the payment and then send the goods. So we produced the fabric, and now we asked them for the payment, and they were not making our payment. Then I went to my boss because he had talked to their boss, and we had initial meeting together. And I asked my boss that we are asking Group of Web again and again to make our payment, and they're not doing it. So we have stock in stores which we want to just send and get our money. And he talked to him, and then it was very interesting fact, which I did not realize before that. He said, Shah Sahab, I had been, we have been doing this for many years. They were a dyeing and bedsheet factory, and they were buying grey fabric. And he said, whenever we bought fabric in history, it has never happened that it was not delayed by at least 1 month. So when we gave you an order, we had that 1 month margin in it. Now you have produced it in time. So हमारा तो इसमें कोई कसूर नहीं. And then when I realized, when I left Nishat and I started working with other factories, I realized almost all the weaving factories were shipping on time. And I think there was a contribution by Nishat in that we developed systems which were more efficient, which were accurate. हमारी planning बहुत अच्छी थी. लूमों की planning जरा मुश्किल होती है, तो उस जमाने में लोग बिल्कुल नहीं करते थे. वो ऐसे ही एक हफ्ते में एक दिन उठ के फैसला कर लेते थे कि इतनी लूमें चला लो. हम एक continuous plan चलाते थे. We had developed a complicated Excel worksheet for that, which was being copied, and people copied it, and actually they became better than Nishat. उससे मुझे ये आइडिया आया कि यार अगर if we do some good job and people copy it, then it is leveling up. It's not then one person, it is so many people who are becoming more efficient and more competitive. And if you become more competitive, and if you, for instance, just avoid airing costs by becoming more efficient, one can imagine how much a country can save just in terms of airing costs. So in general, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in industry and in our company also. And it is very important for the students to realize that. It is very unfortunate that a lot of students who graduate today, even from UMT, for example, their typing speed is very low. Their Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Word skills are not very good. They are not very hardworking. And this is not not to offend anyone. I had been teaching at UMT. I have graduated from NCTE. We every year we hire a lot of engineers. Not now actually. Now we are also focused on being productive. But in my company, we at one time they were working 38 Excel engineers from UMT and from National College of Electrical Engineering, which is NTU now. So I have a very fair idea that people who are graduating from these institutes, their skill set is not good enough. It should be, and they need to realize it by themselves. In general, the organization, the universities are not teaching you to have a good typing speed, but it creates so much difference if a person comes to me and we assign him a job where he has to write 20, 30 emails every day. It takes him 6, 7 hours just to write 30 emails, which a person with a high typing speed actually can do within half an hour, 45 minutes. So for students, it's very important that they focus on their education and they focus on these things which are slightly other than education but related to their future business perspective. But as far as the question is concerned about starting my own business, it was never my intention to start a business. I still believe if you can go up at a role in a big organization and give a contribution there, that can have much more impact than having a small business. We have been very lucky, our business also grew, but even today it is nowhere compared to what I was some 14 years back.
All right,
Great.
Rizwan sir, I have a question.
I think one of our team member, Ms. Sarah, have a question.
Yeah.
Sarah, please go through.
So I was listening. You mentioned that you didn't have any inspiration to emerge as an entrepreneur, and you just emerged as an entrepreneur by luck or something, or accidentally. But I believe that you had a certain passion within you that you wanted to contribute in terms of creating some better procedures, innovative procedures, which can, contribute industry or society at large. And you also mentioned that, the graduates coming out of the universities who are basically from Gen Z community or millennials, they lack certain capabilities or in terms of skill set. So I was about to ask you the same question, that what kind of manpower you hire, and specifically in terms of skill set, hard skills and soft skills, where do you actually want, a graduate joining your organization to have a certain skill set?
This is actually a difficult question in the sense that there is a very large set of skills that is required. There are analytical skills that are required, there are communication skills that are required, and then there is emotional intelligence that is required. And generally, the courses in our universities, if I talk about textile engineer, uh, almost none of these is being addressed. Some communication is being taught, but in most of the courses, students are not required. And I'm not talking about the business education, because UMT is having many disciplines. But if I strictly talk about textile discipline, for instance, students are not very comfortable in making a presentation, in delivering a speech. They do not have a very good analytical, mathematical, computer skills. And also, most of the time, because the universities do not have in their curriculum, I am not sure if you try to even put courses related to emotional intelligence, if HEC would allow for that or not. But these are the things which are extremely important when working in a business environment, whether you're working in a factory, whether you're working in office. Most of your work, because our engineers, when they come, they try to, or they should in general, get a managerial level job. And when you work as a manager, even if it is an assistant manager, you have to deal with other people. And when you're dealing with people, then to understand the way they think, to have empathy, and to have emotional skills where you have interpersonal skills, where you can convince people, where you can put your point across, where you can understand what they are trying to say. These are very important aspects which students are definitely lacking. So what skill set is required is there is a very big pool of set skill which is needed. Generally, truly speaking, especially talking about textile, if they have learned, for example, and the other problem is what they're learning is also not very, if you might pardon my comments, they are not very hardworking. So the student not very hardworking, so they have not really learned. For example, if there is a weaving graduate, so he would know weaving theory and practice and fabric design very well, whether it is a student from UMT textile discipline or it is a student from NTU or any other place, I can comment better about textiles because we are in that industry for so many years. They are not a very, when you ask questions about these, they would say, yes, it was, I studied it 2 years back, I studied it 1 year back, now I don't recall it. I'll just look into the books and I'll just know what is needed to be done, which practically does not matter happen in the work. When you're working, for example, on a washing machine, then you do not have enough time to go back your home and look at the books and then take a decision. So at the end of the day, everything boils down to the fact that individuals must be hardworking and efficient. They should work hard and work smart if they want to graduate, become a better graduate from the university, and if they want to excel or even survive in life. The way things are happening, it is not just going up the ladder in the professional world, it is just to sustain yourself. You need to improve every day and you need to change the old ways.
Very well
Rizwan,
said.
thank you very much for the answer. I mean, a wonderful question put it up by Miss Saira, and I mean, this was the same question I was about to ask. That what is the skill set required from the industry perspective, which you answered really well, and to make it more easy for the student. I mean, UMT has taken an initiative. I mean, obviously, we hear from the industry professionals and leaders like you. We talk about the gap between industry and academia, the quality of graduates we are producing for the industry. So, by going through and listening the suggestions or guidelines of the leaders like you, UMT has taken an initiative of launching a co-op program. What this program is, that a student should come to university, completes their 3 years education in a university, and from their fourth, fifth, or probably sixth semester, they should get engaged with industry and spend 1 good year at the industry. I mean, to learn from the industry perspective, the industry tactics, work ethics required. They would get a brief idea. I mean, I would say a good experience from the industry for 1 year. After 1 year, they would come back to university and bring the challenges of the industry to our academia, hear from the top PhD professors we have, and then obviously work it on this way that after spending another year and completing their graduation, they would be a good marketable graduate for the industry, ready for the industry. You know, so what are your thoughts on our core program? We are planning to launch this, and I would ask Khalid Saab to make a comment on it and further guide you about the core program launching by UMT.
नहीं मोहित, it's a very relevant question that you have asked actually. जो रिजवान साहब expectations दे रहे हैं, वो अब expectation मैं इस सेशन के बाद हम जब वो एग्जिट कर लेते हैं, हम आपस में मीटिंग करेंगे और बड़े सीरियस टेक अवेज हैं फ्रॉम देयर जो हम डिस्कस करेंगे, और फिर अपने फैकल्टी से भी बात करनी है, इनको हम बुलाएंगे भी बाद में इंशाल्लाह. वी नीड टू एंगेज हिम मोर बिकॉज वी नीड दिस माइंडसेट. रिजवान साहब, जो कोऑप प्रोग्राम है ना, आपने बात की इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस की, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स की, टाइपिंग स्पीड्स की, एंड एक्सेल भी आना चाहिए और बाकी टूल्स भी आने चाहिए, और हर इंडस्ट्री में अपने स्पेसिफिक सॉफ्टवेयर भी हैं. टेक्सटाइल के अपने भी स्पेसिफिक हैं जिसमें फैब्रिक कंजम्पशन एंड कन्वर्जन कॉस्ट एंड प्रोक्योरमेंट सारा कुछ लोगों ने एक्सेल पे खुद भी बनाए हुए. तो दैट इज an excellent thing. लेकिन candidly speaking, it's a very informal session with you, Rizwan sahab. Candidly speaking, somebody has to punctuate these things in the minds of the students एंड ऑल्सो द एकेडमिक लर्निंग जर्नी ऑल्सो, उसमें भी रोड मैप्स में चीज़ें होनी चाहिए। तो हम ये चीज़ जैसे भी मोहित ने कहा कोऑप प्रोग्राम का, इस पे अगर एक बच्चा 3 साल तक यहाँ पढ़ लेता है या लेट्स से 6 सेमेस्टर में, और जो आप सब पूछते थे जब आपके पास आए तो उसको क्या कुछ आना चाहिए, वो हमने 5वें 6ठे सेमेस्टर में उसको ठीक ठाक करके आपके पास भेज दिया, 1 साल के लिए आपके पास काम करेगा। देन ही विल कम बैक एंड ही विल कंटिन्यू विद हिज डिग्री कंप्लीट करेगा। उस 1 साल में वो आपका कल्चर, आउटलुक, कैसे इंडस्ट्री चलती है, एंड विद स्पेशली अ मेंटर लाइक यू सिटिंग ऑन द टॉप, आप जो बातें उसको करोगे इट विल बेटर लॉट मोर टू हिम, और वो एक बहुत अच्छा ग्रेजुएट बन के निकलेगा जो एज अ नॉलेज वर्कर निकलेगा, सिंपल टेक्सटाइल इंजीनियर नहीं निकलेगा। टेक्सटाइल इंजीनियरिंग विल बी पार्ट ऑफ हिज नॉलेज बेस, जिसके अंदर वो एक मॉड्यूल सेट होगा। तो उसके बाद जब वो ग्रेजुएट हो कि आपके पास इंटरव्यू के लिए आता है, आपके पास जॉब्स नहीं है, किसी और कंपनी में जाता है, तो ही कैन मेक अ बेटर स्टार्ट ऑफ हिज करियर, प्लस वो इंडस्ट्री को भी कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकता है। और अगर आपकी कंपनी में जगह होगी तो जाहिर है वो आपने उसको स्कैन भी किया हुआ है, उसकी इंटेग्रिटी भी देखी हुई है, हार्ड वर्कर है कि तमाम जो पैरामीटर्स आपके हैं इज फुली असेस्ड ऑन देम, and you'll be very comfortable in hiring him because that there is no training cost, no downtime, and nothing. वो आएगा, आपने brief करने, and he will start off as per your corporate culture, desire, जो भी आपके objectives हैं। तो इस पे अगर हम आपसे अगर बात करना चाहें तो how open are you on this, and how to do it, how to structure it, आपकी advice चाहिए होगी।
देखिए जी, इसमें 2-3 चीज़ें हैं बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट। एक चीज़ तो ये कि आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है। उसकी वजह ये है कि जो नॉर्मल इंटर्नशिप के लिए जब हमारे पास स्टूडेंट्स आते हैं तो उनका स्कोप होता है 1 महीने का, 2 हफ्तों का, 6 हफ्तों का। उस स्कोप के अंदर हम उनको कोई रूटीन जॉब तो दे नहीं सकते। तो हम उनको यही कहते हैं, अच्छा जी जाएँ जी स्टडी करने। अब वो स्टडी करने फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल वॉशिंग डिपार्टमेंट में चले गए, कटिंग स्टिचिंग डिपार्टमेंट में चले गए, तो दे जस्ट गो देयर एंड स्टैंड देयर, क्योंकि वहाँ सारे लोग अपने-अपने काम में लगे हुए हैं, उनके पास तो इतना वक़्त नहीं होता कि उनको बैठ के वो गाइड करते रहें। प्रॉपर हम जॉब को उनको दे नहीं सकते क्योंकि उन्होंने 6 हफ्ते के बाद चले जाना होता है। तो इस हिसाब से तो इट्स अ वेरी गुड आइडिया कि हमें पता है ये गाय इज़ कमिंग, हू इज़ गोइंग टू बी देयर फॉर 1 फुल ईयर, तो हम उसको एक जॉब में इंडक्ट कर देंगे और उसके अंदर वो अगर बहुत क्रिटिकल जॉब नहीं भी होगी तो एक नॉर्मल जॉब एटलीस्ट होगी जिसमें वो कर देगा। अब उसमें 2 चीज़ें इंपॉर्टेंट है कि पहली चीज़ तो है कि हमारे पास या किसी भी कंपनी के पास उस वक़्त उस नौयत की कोई जॉब अवेलेबल हो। यानी नॉर्मल सिचुएशन में आपका एक स्टूडेंट ग्रेजुएट हो गया, अब वो यूनिवर्सिटी की तरफ से यूनिवर्सिटी उससे फ्री हो गई। अब उसको कहीं जॉब मिल जाती है, अच्छी बात है, प्लेसमेंट ऑफिस थोड़ी एफर्ट कर लेगा, पर अगर उसको नई जॉब मिलती है, उसको 2, 4, 6 महीने फारिग बैठे रहना पड़ता है, तो तब भी ठीक है, इट्स पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ, हार्ड वर्क। इस केस में क्या होगा? बिकॉज़ अगर उसके अब 2.5 साल हो गए हैं और उसने 1 साल या 2 साल के बाद 1 साल लगाना है, तो उसको तो इमीडिएट कहीं न कहीं जॉब चाहिए, तभी उसका साल पूरा होगा, वरना उसकी डिग्री डिले होती रहेगी। प्लस वो जो डिग्री डिले के अलावा वो एक बैच है जो चल रहा है। तो अगर उसमें से कुछ स्टूडेंट को फौरन जॉब मिल गई और कुछ को 8 महीने बाद मिली, तो फिर उसके बाद वो एक बैच में कंटिन्यू कैसे करेंगे? तो ये एक प्रैक्टिकल चैलेंज है, इसका आई एम नॉट श्योर क्या सॉल्यूशन है। दूसरा प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अभी प्रॉब्लम ये आ रही है कि वो जो 4 साल लगाने के बाद स्टूडेंट आता है और जब हम या कोई और जब हम उसको एनालाइज़ करते हैं तो हम कहते हैं कि भई ये तो बहुत वीक है। अब हम इसको रखें या हम क्या करें? कहीं और से रखें, लाम से रख लें, आईबीए से रख लें या बंदे के बगैर ही गुज़ारा करा लें। तो वो 4 साल अब बाद अगर ये सिचुएशन है तो जब वो अभी उसने सिर्फ़ 2 साल पढ़ा होगा, तो अब ये कैसे होगा कि 2 साल बाद आके वो हमारी एक क्लाइंट जॉब करने के कैपेबल हो जाएगा? इसका मतलब है कि आपके एंड पे उसको बहुत ज़्यादा सख्त डिसिप्लिन से गुज़ारना पड़ेगा उन 2 सालों में। वो फिर नॉर्मल तरीके वाला सिस्टम नहीं होगा।
एग्रीड। देखिए वो रोड मैप तो हमें उसी हिसाब से भी डिजाइन करना होगा ना, एंड बाय द टाइम ही ग्रेजुएट्स ही विल बी हैविंग 1 ईयर एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ वर्किंग समवेयर, और उसके बाद जब उसका बैच निकलता है तो बिल्कुल फ्रेश है, वो भी कुछ भी नहीं पता, इसको एटलीस्ट इंडस्ट्री का पता है, चीज़ों का पता है, प्लस नेटवर्किंग भी हो जाती है इंडस्ट्री में। तो बाकी आपकी बात दुरुस्त है कि हमें उसके रोड मैप में इस तरह लेके चलना होगा कि जब वो आपके पास आए 6ठे सेमेस्टर में भी अगर हम के बाद हम भेजते हैं तो 6 सेमेस्टर 3 साल होते हैं, तो उसके बाद अपना वो फाइनल ईयर प्रोजेक्ट भी आपके ऊपर करेगा, रिसर्च भी करेगा, आपके कुछ चैलेंजेस हैं उनको लेके यूनिवर्सिटी में आ जाएगा, वहाँ पे जो पीएचडी प्रोफेसर्स हैं उनके साथ वो डिस्कस करेगा, अगर सोल्यूशन निकालेगा, आप भी आओगे उनसे मिलोगे, कि दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, तो एक गो बिटवीन कॉन्डक्ट भी आपका बन जाएगा। और वो फैकल्टी फिर आपकी जब असाइनमेंट पे काम करेगी तो उनकी भी लर्निंग होएगी एंड आपका भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगा एंड इट विल नॉट कॉस्ट यू एनीथिंग। एक बात तो ये है। दूसरा, रिजवान साहब ये बताएं कि अगर मैं आपसे ये कहूँ कि हम अपनी कुछ फैकल्टी को इंटर्नशिप पे भेजते हैं टेक्सटाइल की फॉर 2 वीक्स 3 वीक्स फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट, उसमें पीएचडीज भी हो सकते हैं, नॉन पीएचडीज भी हो सकते हैं, मास्टर्स भी हो सकते हैं और बैचलर्स भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन जनरली एमफिल तो सबने ही किया वही है। तो वो अगर 2 to 4 वीक्स की इंटर्नशिप करने आपके पास आते हैं तो उस पर आपकी क्या एडवाइस है? इज इट अ गुड आइडिया, बैड आइडिया, करना चाहिए? इफ यस तो हाउ टू डू इट?
जी मेरे ख्याल में इट्स अ गुड आइडिया डेफिनेटली, क्योंकि अगर वो आके उन्होंने फिजिकली चीज़ें देखी होंगी तो आगे स्टूडेंट्स को गाइड करना आसान होगा, लेकिन उसमें भी एक क्लियर रोड मैप होना चाहिए कि उस इंटर्नशिप के कुछ टारगेट्स होने चाहिए। वो क्लियरली सोचा होगा अच्छा जी
हाँ,
मतलब
नहीं,
गारमेंट में।
इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी अ ब्लाइंड फायरिंग, यू नो, जिसको ना फायर कर दिया। इट हैज टू बी वेरी कैलकुलेटेड, मेजर्ड। और आपसे भी हमें रिपोर्ट चाहिए होगी कि ये बच्चा 1 साल है, तो मंथली रिपोर्ट आपसे भी हमें आ रही होगी कि क्या कर रहा है। अगर फैकल्टी भी आती है तो उसमें भी यू विल बी गिविंग योर ऑफिशियल फॉर्मल फीडबैक, जो हमारे एचआर डिपार्टमेंट में जाएगा, रेक्टर साहब के पास भी जाएगा, डीन के पास भी जाएगा। और हो सकता है डीन भी इंटर्नशिप करने आए, तो कुछ तो आपके, फॉर एग्जांपल, हो सकता है आपके सीनियर्स भी हों जो आप यहाँ पढ़ाते थे, बट दैट डजंट मैटर, लर्निंग इज अ लाइफ लॉन्ग प्रोसेस। तो मैं, रिजवान साहब, आई एम वेरी इंस्पायर्ड बाय योर टॉक्स। मैं एक प्रपोजल ड्राफ्ट करके ईद के बाद इंशाल्लाह आपको भेजूंगा। मोहित आपके साथ कांटेक्ट में रहेगा, सन्नान भी रहेगा, बाकी भी मई टीम से आपका इंट्रोडक्शन हो ही गया है। और अगर हालात बेहतर होते हैं आपको हम कैंपस पे बुलाएंगे इंशाल्लाह, and we'll then take you to the School of Textile and Design, and फिर वहाँ पे भी बात करेंगे। और then I may even request you to come on board of advisors, थोड़ा रोड मैप्स को देख लें, थोड़ा सा आपका हम टाइम खींचने की कोशिश करेंगे, not much, we know you're a busy guy, तो उस वक्त हम लेके आएंगे। तो we'll send you a proposal, तो इंशाल्लाह let's try and develop a product कि ये कोई एक्टिविटी शुरू कर लें। चैलेंजेस आएंगे शुरू में, 1 आध साल में ठीक हो जाएगा। कनाडा ने ये प्रोग्राम शुरू किए, जर्मनी ने किए, अमेरिका में हुए। शुरू में प्रॉब्लम सबको आई, हमें भी आएंगी, लेकिन फिर ठीक हो जाती है। बट यू हैव टू टेक अ फर्स्ट स्टेप फर्स्ट, राइट? बहुत शुक्रिया मोहित, बैक टू यू।
Great. So, I mean, overall, we have taken so much time of Rizwan Saab. MashaAllah, his thought lines was very inspiring, which was covered, and the excerpts of this session, sir, will be shared with you in a couple of weeks. I would say in a week, because Eid holidays are again, so uske baad we'll be back, inshallah. So, ye excerpts will not only shared with you, but we'll put this session live for the student as well on our portal. We share with them over the email as well. और जो इसके excerpts होंगे इंशाल्लाह वो हम ट्राई करते हैं, खालिद साहब इज एंगेज विद द फैकल्टी, वी विल ट्राई टू इनकनकेट दीज एक्सर्ट्स फॉर द फैकल्टी, और बेसिकली सारी चीज़ें टेक फॉरवर्ड करेंगे वहीं से। तो वंडरफुल सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम। अगर कोई क्लोजिंग में आपका कोई रिमार्क्स, कोई गाइडलाइन, कोई अ पीस ऑफ एडवाइस यू वांट टू गिव टू द स्टूडेंट्स टू कंक्लूड इट, सो आई विल लीव इट टू यू। थैंक यू
जी पहली बात तो ये कि आप लोगों का बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने मुझे इस काबिल समझा और इस सेशन के, मैं अपने आप को एक्चुअली इतना काबिल समझता नहीं हूँ। मिस मायरा ने मुझे जब बताया था तो मैं बड़ा कंफ्यूज हो गया था। ना हमारी कोई कंपनी इतनी बड़ी कंपनी है जो हम इस तरह की बैठ के लोगों को तकरीरें करते हैं, और ये बड़ा आसान होता है किसी के मतलब कमेंट कर देना। मैंने आई लुक एट माय ओन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, देयर आर सो मेनी इश्यूज वेयर वी आर लैकिंग एंड वी नीड टू इम्प्रूव, एंड एवरी डे वी आर फेसिंग दिस चैलेंज कि हम अपने आप को कैसे अपलिफ्ट करें। जहाँ तक स्टूडेंट्स के लिए एक एडवाइस है मेरी, एक बिल्कुल बेसिक है, वही वाली एडवाइस है, दूसरे अल्फाज में समझ लें। द बेसिक एडवाइस इज कि जैसे मैं खुद, जब मैं एनटीयू में गया, आई वाज ग्रेजुएटिंग फ्रॉम देयर, मुझे ये एहसास हुआ कि जो अमाउंट ऑफ वर्कलोड है वो कम है। वहाँ पे उस ज़माने में ज़रा कल्चर अनफॉर्चुनेटली ऐसा था कि अक्सर स्टूडेंट मिलकर छुट्टियाँ भी कर लेते थे। यूएमटी में तो उस हिसाब से बहुत बेहतर कल्चर है। तो वहाँ आई रियलाइज वेरी वेरी क्लियरली कि मुझे अल्लाह ताला ने सलाहियतें दी हैं, और जैसे वो सूरह तकासुर में आता है ना कि सुम्मा लतुसअलुन्ना यौमइज़िन अनिन नईम, उस दिन तुमसे नेमतों के मुतल्लिक लाज़िमन लाज़िमन सवाल किया जाएगा। तो अल्लाह ताला ने हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को जो सलाहियतें दी हैं, सेहत दी है, एकेडमिक कैपेबिलिटीज दी हैं और वक्त दिया है, इन सब के मुतालिक सवाल होगा कि ये वक्त कहाँ इस्तेमाल किया। तो व्हेन आई वाज इन एनटीयू आई रियलाइज कि यहाँ पढ़ाई कम थी, जितनी मेरी कैपेबिलिटी अल्लाह ने मुझे दी थी उसके मामले में पढ़ाई कम थी। तो आई देन फाउंड बाय माई सेल्फ अदर सॉल्यूशंस। मैंने उसके साथ साथ आईसीएमए करना शुरू कर दिया और आईसीएमए इंटर कर लिया व्हेन आई वाज स्टिल स्टडीइंग। मैंने उसके साथ साथ कंप्यूटर प्रोग्रामिंग सीखनी शुरू कर दी एंड आई वाज अ डिसेंट कंप्यूटर प्रोग्रामिंग। था मैं अकेला ही, कोई उस तरह ना तो उस जमाने में लाहौर में होती थी सॉफ्टवेयर यूनिवर्सिटी, मुझे तो उसका पता भी नहीं था और मैं तो फैसलाबाद में पढ़ता था। बट मैं पास्कल लैंग्वेज के अंदर प्रोग्रामिंग करता था एंड आई मेड सॉफ्टवेयर। जस्ट टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, आई मेड एन अकाउंटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर व्हिच यूज्ड टू डू अ प्रॉपर अकाउंटिंग। उस जमाने के हिसाब से डॉस बेस्ड सिस्टम होते थे, उस वक्त विंडोज नहीं होती। और मैंने एक फैब्रिक डिजाइन का सॉफ्टवेयर बनाया था जो मैं यूएमटी में भी बाद में पढ़ाता रहा था, जिसमें आप डिजाइन फीड करते थे तो जो कपड़े पे एक्चुअल रिजल्ट आएगा वो सॉफ्टवेयर डिस्प्ले कर देता था। दैट वाज इन 1996 व्हेन आई वाज स्टिल स्टडीइंग। व्हाई? बिकॉज आई रियलाइज कि अल्लाह ताला ने जो वक्त दिया है मुझे इसका प्रोडक्टिव इस्तेमाल करने की हद तक इम्कान कोशिश करनी चाहिए। तो स्टूडेंट्स को भी मेरा यही रिमार्क या एडवाइस है कि आपको अल्लाह ताला ने जो वक्त दिया है ये ऐसे ही नहीं है, इसके मुतालिक जाके सवाल होगा, आपको जवाब देना पड़ेगा कि आपने सारा टाइम व्हाट्सएप, फेसबुक और ब्राउजिंग पे और इंटरटेनमेंट पे अपनी ज़ाया कर दिया, या आपने जो अल्लाह ने सलाहियतें दी थी उनको प्रॉपर यूटिलाइज किया, अपने आप को मजीद अपने पोटेंशियल को उसको एक्चुअलाइज करने के लिए वो एफर्ट की या नहीं की। तो अगर वो ये करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली वो फिर उस तरीके पे नहीं रहेंगे कि टीचर आया, टीचर ने जितना पढ़ा दिया क्लास में दिल जहाँ तो नोट कर लिया, कुछ समझ लिया, कुछ छोड़ दिया, आखिरी एग्जाम वाले दिन जैसे तैसे रिटर्न का करके पास हो गए। और टीचर भी आमतौर पर बड़े नरम दिल होते हैं, वो भी कहते हैं कि बच्चे की डिग्री हो जाए, किसी तरह ऐसा ना हो कि इसकी डिग्री रह गई तो क्या होगा। अगर वो इस चीज़ को रियलाइज करेंगे, वो कोर्स वर्क भी पढ़ेंगे, कोर्स से हट की किताबें भी पढ़ेंगे और स्किल्स भी सीखेंगे, कंप्यूटर स्किल ऑटोमेटिकली इफ दे हैव रियलाइजेशन, तो ये सारी चीज़ें खुद कर लेंगे। तो मेरी सबसे रिक्वेस्ट यही है कि खुदा के लिए इस चीज़ को रियलाइज करें कि आपको जो सलाहियतें दी गई हैं आप उनका बेस्ट पॉसिबल यूटिलाइजेशन करें, अपने वक्त को बेहतरीन इस्तेमाल।
Thank you very much, sir. MashaAllah, really inspiring again. Khalid sir, do we have any concluding remarks from you, or we can close it?
No, inshallah, बस conclusion मेरा यही है कि we need to engage रिजवान साहब lot more because इन्होंने वो बातें की हैं जो कि it's a serious takeaway for us and for students. And Sarah, please create excellent excerpts from his talks और knowledge base वाला जो मामला है ना उसको capitalize करें, क्योंकि आप भी काम कर रही हैं from factor driven to innovation driven idea economy project के ऊपर। उसमें it comes in very handy और जो उन्होंने बात की है वो सिंपल बिल्कुल सही clog in the wheel की तरह सेट हो गया हुआ है उसमें। तो I would suggest कि इनको आप ICDF पे भी साइन करें and take him on board, and for which we will go to his office once the situation improves and इनको brief भी करेंगे, presentation भी share करेंगे, इनके thoughts भी लेंगे, उनको on board लेके आएंगे innovation capital development forum पे, जहाँ पे हमारा core concept है driving Pakistan from factor driven to innovation driven idea economy। और ये सारी गेम ही नॉलेज वर्कर के इर्द गिर्द घूमती है और वो आपने बहुत ज़बरदस्त तरीके से पंचुएट किया है विद योर ओन live examples and how it has helped you and how it has helped you improve your productivity and efficiency and making workers better human beings also because उनका skill set भी upgrade हो गया। You're reskilling them, you're upskilling them, उनको आप पढ़ाते भी हो, training sessions भी हैं। So thank you very much and inshallah we'll be in touch, Rizwan Saab. It was a great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much all.
Great. Thank you very much, Rizwan sir, for your wonderful time. Inshallah, as I said, I'll be sharing the excerpts with you soon. And inshallah, जैसे खालिद साहब ने बताया, we'll invite you to come forward for our student, play your part from the industry perspective. And inshallah, इस तरह के session हम फिर engage करेंगे आपके साथ. बहुत शुक्रिया
इंशाल्लाह
आपके time का सर. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
जज़ाकुमुल्लाह।
तो ये माशाल्लाह